Carelign was originally born from the idea that our handoffs, which traditionally are really paper-based, needed to be really brought into the current century and moved to a more electronic workflow.
Where I trained and where I rotated at as a student, everything was asynchronous. So you had a sign out, and some places, not surprisingly, used just a Word document that they kept in a server that was like accessed by all residents. And that was a huge mess. You could only have one person open at one time, and if somebody else tried to, it wouldn't let you save it. So it was really messy.
With the pit crew model of medicine moving forward, sometimes it felt like we were working on different cars in the pit, because there was the EMR and there was the physician sign out, and there were all these different places that documentation and care was happening, and now we've all moved to the same car. And I think that the teams of physicians and the nurses and the speech therapists can all have their documentation in one place.
What Carelign has enabled us to do is have one plan that you update on a regular basis, and then you use that to create your progress note, or you use that to hand off to your colleague. You use that to help build your discharge summary when your patient leaves. So instead of trying to update the same thing in many different places and then not doing a great job in any of them, you have one place where you update your plan of care and you use that to communicate in many different forms.
The Carelign sign out is the living document of the patient's plan, and we add to the plan every day, the interns add to the plan every day, the attending can put their notes in the attending section, consultants can put their notes in the consultant section, you can have your tasks, and this is a living document that changes, an online living document that changes over the course of the day.
Carelign was developed by an interdisciplinary group of people at Penn, so a collaboration between clinicians, both faculty, residents, medical students, and it was really born from the idea that we wanted to work off of real-time data and interact with our systems in a more electronic form instead of relying on paper.
And we know now from the medical literature that the #1 cause of like medical-related injury or hospital-related injuries from poor sign-outs.
When your progress notes were curated in one area and your sign-out was curated in a different area, sometimes there would be conflicting information. Some things wouldn't be up to date. It would be more up to date in one place than the other. And people who weren't on the primary team, either consultants or even the attending, because they weren't on the ground with us overnight, would look at one place or the other and be going off of information that was actually conflicting the information that we were actually trying to have.
Carelign made it that when you were admitting someone, you could admit someone and go sign it out immediately and not have to worry about writing a sign out because your admission stuff was your sign out.
Carelign, although it started off as a electronic and mobile handoff tool, has really become much more than that. I would say it is an inpatient care management tool, which gives you access to real-time clinical data right where you need it in the palm of your hands, presented in a clinically oriented way that makes sense to not just physicians, but all clinicians and providers taking care of a patient. And it gives you a living, breathing care plan which explains what's going on for your patient at any given moment in time.
The system is very intuitive, and I think you can train most people in a relatively short amount of time, half an hour or an hour, and you can get the sense of at least the basics of how to use Carelign. After that, there's always more you can learn.
I adopted Carelign very quickly, and I'm very tech obsessed, and I thought it answered a lot of problems that I saw. But the single issue I had was that printout. There was something so addictive about having that paper to just read from and to write things on. And when I finally made that transition to just having my phone, it was like freedom, not having to worry about where I left a scrap of paper.
Pockets with all the papers flying out.
My pockets are now paper free.
I would say adoption is variable, as with anything. Some people pick it up right away and they say, I am very excited to get rid of paper and use my phone or my iPad or my computer and do an all electronic workflow. Naturally, some people are more resistant to change, but we have had numerous examples of people who were probably the biggest naysayers up front as I was implementing and teaching them about it, who a couple weeks later say to me, wow, this has completely changed my workflow and I really see the benefits now.